to make changes are people with diabetes, although the changes are modest. This is the result of a 12-year study of more than 17,000 Canadians.
Have you ever had someone look past you? Ever feel that you're not seen, that you don't matter? That happens every day to the elderly in our care homes and community. Show them that you do see. Show them that you do care. Join the Greater Victoria Elder Care Foundation today in updating care facilities, equipment, and programs. Give generously at gvef.org or call 370-5664.
CFAX 1070 weather, showery. In fact, there's a risk of a thunder shower today. Windy, high of 8 degrees. Wind tonight, 60% chance of more showers, lows around 5. Tomorrow, some sunshine in the morning, then becoming showery, rainy in the afternoon, windy again, highs once again of 8 degrees. Warmer for the weekend. Will be up to 12 degrees on Friday, 10 on Saturday. Downtown right now, it's 9 degrees. This weather for Kerrisdale Cameras.
For Kerrisdale Cameras with the new Nikon D3200 kit, ask about the new built-in wireless transmitter to send pictures to your smartphone or tablet. Nikon D3200 at Kerrisdale Cameras, Saanich Plaza by Tim Hortons.
A few minutes ago, we called the number listed for the Tiger residents on Resthaven, trying to give away the Newsmaker of the Hour jackpot. No correct answer, no winner this time. The pot rises to $791 from Glenwood Meats, 1245 Parkdale in Langford. Frank Stanford reporting. If it's happening, it's here on Victoria's News Authority, CFAX 1070. It's 1:31.
This is a CFAX 1070 special presentation. A town hall with Justin Trudeau. Here is Stephen Andrew.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to CFAX 1070. Welcome on the radio. Obviously, welcome online as well. And welcome to our studio audience here at 1420 Broad Street at the corner of Broad and Pandora. As you heard, this is a special town hall meeting. The man who wants to lead the Liberal Party also, I guess, following that, would want to lead the country as Prime Minister. So please welcome our guest today, Justin Trudeau. Well, we've got a couple of questions. Also, by the way, if you'd like to join the conversation today and you're not here in the studio, you can dial us up, 250-386-1161. We will be taking calls. And also, the email is up and running at talk@cfax1070.com. So we've been out in the crowd asking people questions, collecting them on Twitter and Facebook, and a lot of very, very strong opinions on you. I think you probably heard that across the country. First one comes, what qualifies you for the job of leader and ultimately Prime Minister of Canada? The writer bluntly says, other than your name, what experience do you have?
Well, that's a question that I got for the first time when I chose to run for to be the Liberal candidate in a block-held riding in the island of Montreal called Papineau. Back in 2007, an awful lot of people said, Justin, what have you done to demonstrate that you have something to offer this community? I said, well, I've chaired a national youth service program. I was a teacher for 5 years. I'm a Montrealer. I love this community. I want to serve it. But I can't tell you that I'm worth it. I'm going to show you that I'm worth it. And I worked extremely hard to win the nomination. Against all odds, I won. And then I worked extremely hard to gain the trust of people in the riding, and I beat an incumbent who wasn't supposed to be beaten. And then I did it again in holding off the orange wave in Quebec. And all the way through, people were saying he has nothing to offer but his name. And despite what people were saying, I was working hard on the ground, listening to people, bringing people together, winning people over, and demonstrating that the values that I stand for are the values that we all share, and the willingness that I have to work and fight and represent people with everything I have makes me a good choice.
Larger demographic, though, across the country. You've got to convince Liberal delegates that you're the guy. How are you going to do it?
Actually, I don't have to convince Liberal delegates at all. We actually, for the first time ever in a national level, we have opened up the process whereby we choose a leader to all Canadians. All you have to do is go to my website, justin.ca, or the Liberal website, liberal.ca, and sign up as a someone who supports generally the Liberal Party, who's not an active member of another political party, and you get to vote for free. Now, you don't have to become a member, pay $10. You get to vote come April for the leader of the Liberal Party. So it's people right across the country that I have to convince. And the way I'm doing that is getting out right across the country, meeting with as many people as I can, listening to them, and building, hopefully, a consensus around the kind of future we want to build together.
You talked with Maclean's Magazine recently, and you said the quote that really kind of stuck out of my mind: how can you get people excited in politics again? And that's a big question. I mean, the Liberal brand, I think, is tarnished. Obviously, you're sitting third in the House right now. How can you get them excited?
Well, I think sitting third in the House right now is actually an extraordinary opportunity. We now can do things that the inertia of the party would not have allowed us to do if we'd still had 100 seats. The fact that we are so much reduced gives everyone the clear understanding of what I've been saying for a while, that we need to change our game, that we have to stop taking people for granted, that we have to re-engage with Canadians right across the country. And it's about reconnecting and reminding Canadians that we are not a polarized people. We are not people of left or of right. We get along. We are, rich not in spite of our differences, but because of those differences. And our capacity to get along defines us as Canadians. So we need a Liberal Party that will speak from coast to coast to coast, say the same thing wherever we are in the country, and engage with all Canadians. And that's what I'm excited about.
But that's something that you have to do. You also have to convince your party to do the same thing. David McGuinty made some very strong comments about Conservatives in Alberta. Do you agree with them? And if not, how do you get your party to follow that same philosophy that you have?
I certainly don't agree with Mr. McGuinty's comments. My take across this country has been about bringing people together. It's what worked for me in my own riding, bringing people together, and that's what I'm doing across the country, and not doing what both Mr. Mulcair and Mr. Harper have done, which is put X's over particular parts of the country that aren't likely to vote for them. Mr. Harper in Quebec, Mr. Mulcair in Alberta. I, on the contrary, just had a great day in Alberta yesterday, where I was extremely well received, and continue to be, because people across the country are tired of being cynical about politics and voting against something. They want to believe in being part of something once again, and I think that's what the Liberal Party is offering.
Let's talk about the name. I mean, you mentioned at the beginning. How's it going to play out in this election? Poll out today, forum poll, talked about younger generation not really knowing the Trudeau name associated with your father, Pierre, but the older generation, obviously, he's still fresh in their minds in many respects. Some seen as a polarizing individual, some loved him, some hated him. How do you overcome that? I mean, how do you define yourself as your own man?
On the very first day I announced that I was seeking the nomination back in 2007 for Papineau, people asked me that question, and my answer was, look, there are people out there who love me because of my name. There are people out there who hate me because of the name. There are people out there who think I'll do great things because of my name. People out there who think I'll do terrible things because of my name. The reality, of course, is somewhere in the middle, so I'm sure to disappoint everybody equally. The fact of the matter is, all my life I've had to, deal with the fact that I was Pierre Elliott Trudeau's eldest son. It was a challenge starting grade 1 as Pierre Elliott Trudeau's son. It was a challenge when I started teaching out here in BC. It was a challenge no matter what challenge I took on. I knew that the important thing was engaging and getting people to understand that I, Justin, was my own person, and proud of my father, yes, but bringing forward a very personal and particular perspective to the world that isn't automatically that of my father. And that challenge that I've always had obviously continues today, but that's why I'm so pleased to be working with so many young people, so many new Canadians, people who, in my riding that I had to win over because they don't like my father, but they do like me. There's a real challenge around that I'm happy to be able to define myself through.
Obviously, growing up, though, in that political family, I mean, politics 24/7, all the time. How?
No, not at all.
No, really, eh? Did he shield you from it?
You think my father came home from a long day at the office to sit down with us at the dinner table and say, man, René Lévesque really gave me a hard time today on the Constitution? No. He was dad. We talked about, global history and current events. We talked about everything that wasn't, what he was stuck dealing with in his day job. He came home. He wanted to be a father. He wanted to be active. He wanted to tell us bedtime stories. He wanted to be an engaged and interesting father. And the last thing a 12-year-old wants to hear is, the kind of hassles the leader of a major industrialized country has to go through on a day-to-day basis.
But his vision and his life with you must have contributed to your vision of the country, what you want to see. I mean, my dad crafted my life. Talk a bit about that.
Listen, I had an experience growing up that a lot of people don't have growing up. I mean, most people, when they make their first discoveries about politics and about what the world, how the world runs, it's their parents complaining about broken campaign promises or paying too many taxes or those crooks in Parliament. I got a completely opposite reaction because I got to see people walk up to my father all my life and tell him how much of an impact he had on their view of their country, on the place that they felt that their country had in the world, and even in many cases for new Canadians, on their very life as it is right now in Canada was because of him. And I believe in public service because I believe that we can actually make a powerful difference for the better. And that's something I got from my father, yes, but also from my grandfather, Jimmy Sinclair, who was MP for Vancouver North for 18 years. The first 4 years of that while serving in World War II for the RCAF. But I get politics on both sides of my family, and I'm very proud of that.
We're talking with Justin Trudeau. He is running for the leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada and, of course, ultimately Prime Minister. If you have a question, you can join us on the phone lines, 250-386-1161, star 1070, an email at talk@cfax1070. We'll continue here live with Justin Trudeau after the break.
Here's what happened this morning with Al Farabee.
Your mom's house is on Balker. You were just there this morning. How does it look?
The house is uninhabitable, so we're hoping to find out more this morning. The demolition people are coming to actually take out all of the stuff in the basement, and so we should know more shortly.
And next time,
an update on the Oak Bay flood, local news every 15 minutes, and we're giving away tickets to see Ken Levine.
Mornings with Al Farabee, weekdays 5 to 9 on CFAX 1070.
The annual Santa Shuffle Fun Run and Elf Walk brings families and friends together. Join in this merry event December 1st, 10 a.m. at Vic West Community Center. There'll be refreshments, awards, and prizes, and all participants will receive a unique Santa Shuffle Finisher's Medal. Funds raised help the Salvation Army to assist families and individuals in need during this Christmas season and throughout the year. Come do your part for the Salvation Army at Santa Shuffle 2012, proudly supported by CFAX 1070.
So, retirement living. Why should I choose the Wellesley?
The Wellesley of Victoria is well established with dedicated staff and excellent outdoor activities. Walking group, gardening on 2 rooftop gardens, weekly shopping trips, lunch and dinners to restaurants, excursions to theater and butch art gardens.
The Wellesley, independent living at its best. Now offering assisted living with studio 1 and 2 bedroom suites. Ask Margot about a free trial stay at 383-9099. So nice to come home to the Wellesley of Victoria.
A new roof is a big investment, one of the most important decisions you can make for the protection and value of your home. Before you do anything, look into a steel roof from Irwin Industries. It's fireproof, moss-free, with clean lines and concealed fasteners. Available in over 40 colors, your new roof will last virtually forever. When it comes to the roof over your head, go with a proven system from a proven company. Irwin Industries, 875 Viewfield Road, irwinvi.com. Call 382-5154.
The 100th Grey Cup on TSN. 1 trophy hoisted under the bright city lights. Cornish and the Stampeders versus Ray and the Argonauts. Johnny Reed kicks things off. Plus, the SiriusXM Grey Cup halftime show featuring Marianas Trench, Carly Rae Jepsen, and Justin Bieber. History will be made. Canada celebrates the biggest event of the year. The 100th Grey Cup. Stamps Argos. Sunday at 3 on TSN.
John Cornish and the Stamps have won 6 straight. Can they win one more?
Calgary goes to the Grey Cup.
and will play the Argonauts in Toronto.
Can Ricky Ray win it all in his first season with the Argos?
They dump it off. They've got Inman. Touchdown, Toronto.
It's the game of the century. The 100th Grey Cup. The Calgary Stampeders. The Toronto Argonauts.
Pre-game starts at 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon with the kickoff at 3.
On Victoria's News Authority, CFAX 1070.
This is a CFAX 1070 special presentation. A town hall with Justin Trudeau. Here is Stephen Andrew.
Welcome back. We're going to get to your calls in just a second at 250-386-1161. Okay, here's a question for you. Who do you want in the Grey Cup?
I was at the Olympic Stadium on Sunday with my Als against the Argos, and it broke my heart to see Calvillo not be able to connect that last possession at the end of the game.
So you're about to upset someone.
Guaranteed. So I was actually talking to my friend Harvey Locke in Calgary, and he was saying, Justin, it's easy. One team is red and white in its colors, and the other team is blue. So I think I'm leaning a little bit towards the Stamps.
Okay. Let's go to the phones. Al, good morning. Good afternoon, I should say. Welcome to CFAX 1070. Go ahead with your question for Justin Trudeau.
Hello? Yes.
Hi, you're on the air.
Yes. My question is about taxation. As I'm sure you are aware, taxation is, it has a terrible impact on people like myself. And I'm just wondering what you would do. Would you try to lower taxes? Would you keep them the same, or would you increase them? I'm going to hang up and listen to the radio. Thank you.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, taxes, people don't like paying their taxes. Everyone wants less taxes and more services. And unfortunately, we can't have that. So we have to figure out the balance between what we actually get. We have to understand that right now the focus of our economy has to be on creating a strong middle class and creating jobs for everyone. For the past 30 years, the economy has grown, but the middle class revenues have stagnated. Our costs have risen. Our household and personal debts are exploding, and people are getting very, very cynical about the capacity of our government to spend their tax dollars wisely, because for the first time in generations in Canada, we're actually facing a situation where the next generation is not automatically going to do better than this current generation. And that's really difficult for Canadians to realize and to come to grips with, that our kids might not have the same opportunities that we've had. So governments absolutely have to address that. Now, the big issue is not so much levels of taxation as what we actually spend on and what kind of services we offer people and how we're building a stronger economy. The math to change, for us to get less taxes and more services, the only thing we can do is grow the economy, and grow the economy in such a way that middle class jobs allow people to get ahead, to retire, to live good quality lives, and to not live in insecurity that if you lose your job, you're going to end up in a food bank like increasing number of Canadians. Or if you retire, you might end up retiring into debt. You're not even retiring with a pension, but retire with debts, which is obviously not something desirable either. So it's a really important question, and one that politicians in general have been quick to avoid.
And you've done a very good job of doing that. So would you raise or lower taxes? What's your vision? You're Prime Minister today. Let's go from that aspect. What would you do?
I would hold taxes as they are right now and make sure that we are spending properly. I'd take a look at the tax system right now and make sure that it's as fair as we can, that the people who need to be paying more taxes or shoulder more of the burden are paying those taxes.
And who would that be?
Who would that be? I mean,
who should be paying their fair share of the taxes more?
Well, everyone needs to pay their fair share of the taxes.
But would you tax higher income earners, or would you?
I think one of the things we need to do is look at what what actual rates work for people. And what we're actually looking at is a situation where people do not feel they're getting their money's worth out of their taxes because the choices this government is making is not wrong. Now, what am I going to actually do? And this is a question that keeps coming back in various interviews because people say, if you're going to be Prime Minister in 2015, you have to be able to say right now what your plan is, how you're going to deal with the most difficult issue of all, which is taxes. And the fact that I'm not answering that question directly has got Steve frowning at me, as he's so good at.
I frown all the time.
Yeah, it's okay. But it's important to understand something. I'm in a leadership race right now for a party that has disconnected from the grassroots and from the base, that is in the third position in the House of Commons because it hasn't listened to Canadians and it hasn't earned their trust. And if we're going to put together, as we will, a comprehensive and ambitious platform for this country in 2015, we're going to do it with the help of Canadians from coast to coast. And it's not one leadership candidate who's going to put forward all the solutions right now and say, I'm going to reduce this tax rate or increase that tax rate right now. I'm going to do what's right for Canadians and for the middle class based on the evidence, based on the recommendations of the best economists around, and based on what works for us.
Let's go to a question now in our studio audience. We'll go to Sid. Sid, what's your question for Trudeau?
I know you've only been here a short period of time, Mr. Trudeau, but I'm sure you've talked to Liberals in this city. I'd like to know, since it is heavily funded by the federal government, what is your position on the sewage treatment program that we've got in place or that we were planning to put into place? Do you think it's appropriate or do you think it should be changed?
One of the things that I launched my campaign with was the importance of basing public policy decisions, particularly around spending millions and even $1 billion of taxpayers' money, on evidence, on what works. And unfortunately, with this sewage treatment plant, what I am hearing from scientists at UVic, from experts and public policy analysts, is that this is $1 billion of our taxpayer dollars being spent that could go towards treating autistic kids, towards childcare, towards improving our schools, that is not going to be money well spent. And that really, really concerns me. In this coming by-election, my friend Paul Somerville the Liberal candidate, has been very, very explicit that this is not the right public expenditure. It's being done on the basis of ideology, of just trying to do something, rather than trying to do the right thing. And when you have the local Conservative candidate and the Green candidate who are opposed to it, and only the NDP candidate is in favor of it as some sort of make-work project, I think we need to be worried about what the actual science says instead of what the ideology is.
But Justin, I mean, is that sufficient, that one issue, is that sufficient to elect an MP?
No, absolutely not. It's not as sufficient, but it's a sufficiently important issue that you should be judging the kind of thoughtfulness that an MP approaches a big issue like this, whether they're going to make the decisions in your name based on ideology and popularity, or whether they're going to make decisions based on what is smart and what is right. And in this case, the science is unequivocal, that it's not going to significantly improve the conditions in the marine life if we go ahead with this $1 billion plant. And that is enough for me to raise eyebrows and say, listen, we need to take a hard second look at this. And that's what Paul Somerville has been great at talking about.
And, of course, there are other candidates running in this race, and that by-election is next week. We'll go through their names a little bit later in the program for you. We're talking with Justin Trudeau, a special town hall meeting. We'll go to Josh right now on the phone lines at 250-386-1161, star 1070 on the phone. Let's go to Josh. Welcome to the program, Josh. What's your question for Justin Trudeau?
Hi, Justin. I have a question about government transparency. One of the values of Canadians in our government is transparency. And I'd like to ask about a group known as the Bilderberg Group. Your father attended meetings, and this secretive group is picked up by many leaders attend these meetings, and Would you be able to comment on if you were invited to the Bilderberg Group, would you attend?
I don't know that I'm interested in hearing what any, shadowy international, conspiracy government, according to many, has to say. It's such a secretive group that I, in fact, didn't even know that my father had been invited to Bilderberg conferences. I know there's an awful lot of people worried about, shadowy supra-governmental organizations making all the decisions for us. My focus is on listening to Canadians. My focus is on looking at what works for us here. My focus is on engaging with that. I've never been invited. I don't expect to ever be invited to an institute or a meeting like that. When it does, I'll make a decision that is in the best interest of Canadians and of Canada.
But if you were to go to a meeting such as that, would you come back and report on what was discussed, or would you keep it behind closed doors? I guess that's really what was being asked here. I guess
that was what I would certainly ask, and what I believe in is transparency and accountability. And I would certainly make it very clear that in general I don't believe in secretive decisions made behind closed doors, because that's one of the things I'm attacking and taking such issue with our current government on, is that they don't trust Canadians to share in their thought process and in their concerns around the decisions they're taking.
Let's go to another question here in our town hall meeting, live at our studios. Go ahead. What's your name, sir, and your question?
My name is Les, and my question pertains to veterans and our military. I'm not qualified to ask any other question than this one. As a member of the Army Reserves, a Canadian veteran, a Railroads University professional communications degree graduate, I'll get to the question after I mention this. When you played Talbot Papineau in CBC's Great War miniseries, it was a historically significant event. Moreover, I think that there were times where you probably felt what it was like to be a soldier. Moving forward to today's Canadian military men and women, what's the Liberals' position on taking care of Canadian veterans, old and young?
Thank you very much for your question, and thank you for your service. It's funny because I got involved in a CBC miniseries called The Great War, where they asked me to enact the role of Talbot Papineau, who was a Great War hero who was killed at Passchendaele. And the entire miniseries was peopled with descendants of people who had died in various world wars. And while I was doing it, I found out from my grandmother that she had an uncle who died at Passchendaele when he was only 17 years old, named Charlie Ivans. So it turns out I'm a descendant of that. And of course, my grandfather, James Sinclair, served in the RCAF while he was an MP during World War II in the Western Sahara. So it's something that I'm certainly very committed to. And I think the question of service and military service specifically is one that has come up in the news recently because of the lack of respect that this current government has towards our veterans on issues such as the Last Post Fund, which is there to provide decent burials for veterans who die in poverty, that they, as a government, are nickel and diming our elderly veterans is appalling. The fact that we have a government that is not living up to our responsibility to the men and women of the Canadian forces that we send into battle in terms of how we care for them and their families when they come home. We are asking for extraordinary sacrifices, and we are asking as well for men and women to take risks in the name of our political decisions. And I don't think we're being transparent or responsible either about where we send them and why we send them and what job we're expecting them to do, and then how we care for them when we come home. There is a big charity that the Conservatives are encouraging support in, which is called True Patriot Love, that I certainly respect. It's a big foundation that raises money to help pay for services for veterans. But at the same time, I'm sort of appalled that we have to create a multi-million-dollar foundation to care for our veterans when it's something that our government, particularly a government that wraps itself in the flag as enthusiastically as this government does, should do. So that Liberal government is committed to doing right by our soldiers, both when we send them into harm's way and when they return as heroes. Thank you.
We are talking with Justin Trudeau live here on CFAX 1070. If you would like to join the conversation, you can do that at talk@cfax1070.com, or you can send us Twitter at CFAX1070, and also 250-386-1161 and star 1070. When we come back after the news, we're going to talk a little bit more about the military. Obviously, it's a big military town. We have the Pacific Fleet here, CFB Esquimalt. We'd like to talk to you about your vision for the military and what a Liberal government would do. Would it increase? Would it decrease? Or would it leave things as the status quo? Our town hall continues right after the news.
CFAX Victoria,
a division of Bell Media.
It's 2 o'clock. This is Victoria's News Authority, CFAX 1070. The news begins right now.
Showers, some possibility of a thunder shower today, and windy. Downtown it's 8 degrees. Good afternoon. Frank Stanford in the CFAX 1070 newsroom. West Vancouver is preparing for a legal battle over property taxes, or more particularly grants in lieu of taxes, related to its BC Ferry Terminal, the Horseshoe Bay Terminal. And other mayors whose municipalities host ferries fear they too could be facing a financial hit. West Van is taking the arm's-length board that hears appeals of property tax assessments to BC Supreme Court after the board downgraded the value of the Horseshoe Bay Terminal from $47 million to $20. The decision means, effectively, the city will collect no tax revenue from the Ferry Corp in future years and is also required to repay revenues collected over the past 3 years, amounting to about $750,000. And the Nanaimo Mayor, John Rattan, whose city has 3 BC Ferry terminals, calls the decision totally unrealistic. Spokesperson for the Property Assessment Appeal Board says it's holding off dealing with other terminals until the Horseshoe Bay case is resolved. BC government says a tough drunk driving law introduced 2 years ago has reduced the number of impaired driving deaths in the province by 46%. It says since the law took effect in September 2010, the number of alcohol-related traffic deaths has fallen to an average of 62 a year from about 114 in each of the previous 5 years. Government says that means an estimated 104 lives have been saved. It also says a roadside survey in several areas of the province has found a 44% drop in the number of drivers with a blood alcohol level of over 0.05, a 60% drop among drivers with alcohol counts higher than that. Government says they're the lowest levels of impaired driving in history of 7 similar surveys. Attorney General Shirley Bond says more people are getting the message. Liberal leadership hopeful Justin Trudeau says the reduction of the party to also-ran status in the House of Commons has provided a unique opportunity for rebuilding.
And it's about reconnecting and reminding Canadians that we are not a polarized people. We are not people of left or of right. We get along. We are, rich not in spite of our differences, but because of those differences. And our capacity to get along defines us as Canadians.
Trudeau says he is campaigning for the leadership on a pledge of public service, not name recognition. On the Victoria by-election next week and the particular issue that has emerged in that election campaign, he says he has doubts about the wisdom of a land-based sewage treatment mega-project for Victoria when science suggests it is unnecessary. Trudeau is appearing in a special live presentation on CFAX this afternoon, which will continue right after this news.
Clean up for the holidays? with Coit. Save 35% on all services this week, including carpets, drapes, upholstery, rugs, tile and grout, and air ducts too, just like Annalise Pistana.
You just get this dusty, dirty smell when the furnace kicks in for the winter. And my son is an asthmatic, and so we figured time to get them cleaned.
Save 35% on all services this week. Call the man in the shiny black van. 1-800-4COIT. That's FORCOIT.
CFAX 1070 weather this hour is a presentation of Priority One Computers. Here's CTV's Astrid Braunschmidt.
Really unsettled weather today all the way through Victoria and all the way north to Port Hardy, too, where we have wind warnings in place. Today in Victoria, mainly overcast, a good chance of showers. There's even a risk of thunderstorms late this afternoon. Winds will be strongest near the Juan de Fuca Strait. Highs to 8 degrees, dipping down to 5 overnight, again with mainly cloudy skies, showers, and windy conditions. Tomorrow, also unsettled, maybe a little more in the way of sunshine here and there, but you do need the umbrella still, and we'll really see those winds picking up near noon. I'll have your full forecast tonight on CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
When you need your computer serviced, remember Priority One Computers offers free pickup and estimates. Priority One Computers, where you're the number one priority.
CFAX 1070 Money Matters this afternoon. North American equity markets were generally up today. Toronto ahead 64 points. The New York Dow Jones up 49. Nasdaq's up 10. Canadian dollar is ahead 5/100ths of a cent. $1.36 U.S. CFAX 1070 newsmaker this hour is Shirley Bond. D.C. Attorney General Shirley Bond. Tell us her name if we call you in the next few minutes. Win $791 from Glenwood Meats, 1245 Parkdale in Langford. Frank Stanford reporting. It's happening. It's here on Victoria's News Authority, CFAX 1070. It's 2:05.
It's a wonderful ride holiday event.
George, wouldn't a sleigh ride be grand?
Wouldn't a grand caravan be grander? Starring the 2013 Dodge Grand Caravan Canada Value Package for under 20 grand. And featuring an extra $1,000 in holiday bonus cash on most models.
When an angel sings, a bell rings.
And when a horn beeps, a customer gets their keys. See your Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram dealer for details.
This is a CFAX 1070 special presentation. A town hall with Justin Trudeau. Here is Stephen Andrew.
Thanks for staying with us. If you'd like to join the conversation today, the numbers are 250-386-1161, star 1070. We've got email coming up for you in just a second, Justin, at talk@cfax1070.com. You mentioned that there was a by-election. Certainly that's coming up on Monday, November the 26th, just to be fair to everybody, since you did mention the Liberal candidate.
Yes,
we're going to go through the list. Donald Galloway is running for the Green Party of Canada. Dale Gann running for the Conservative Party of Canada. Art Lowe for the Libertarian Party, and Philip Ney for the Christian Heritage Party, and Murray Rankin for the NDP. Now, we were talking just before the break about military, obviously CFB at Esquimalt. There's been criticism, and I've seen it in the papers, on other radio stations, that the Liberals were not friendly to the military, that they cut the military in some saying decimated it. What's your take on it? Does it need to be reinvigorated? Do we need to enhance the military, or think should they stay the way they are?
I think Canadians do a lot of thinking, a lot of boasting about the fact that Canada is a peacekeeping nation, and we're proud of our more balanced approach around the world, and we're proud that a Canadian was Lester B. Pearson was so intrinsically involved in creating United Nations peacekeeping forces, and was a force for diplomacy and peace around the world, and that's a reputation that we carry with us and we're proud of. But anytime we talk about that, we tend to forget just why Canada was given the level of trust and respect as a small country that it could participate in the discussions that would lead to creating peacekeepers. Canada earned its place in the trenches of World War I, in the beaches of World War II, when we fought way above our weight class for far-off ideals in faraway places, and we sacrificed the very best of ourselves, our young people, because we believed the cause was just. not because it gave us personal advantages or we were going to gain more territory or even defend ourselves from imminent attack. Canada has been a country that whenever we show up anywhere around the world, whether it's anywhere in Africa or Bosnia or Afghanistan or wherever, people look at that maple leaf on the shoulder of our men and women of the Canadian Forces and don't think, oh, they're here for our oil, they're here to conquer us or to colonize us or to oppress us or to impose their system of government. Canadians are there to help.
So
and
do
that's something we've earned.
Do they need more money, though, to enhance the military? Are they well-funded, or should we leave things the way they are?
Well, I think one of the things we're asking is, what are we spending the funds that we have on right now? We're not spending them enough on caring for our military when they come home, and that one we've established that, yes, the Liberal Party will spend more on making sure that the veterans are properly cared for. But the other decisions that are made, I mean, what do we actually need as equipment? Now, yes, we need to replace the CF-18s. There's no question about it. They're at the end of, my father, I remember when I was still living at 24 Sussex, went up in one of the first CF-18s because he was Prime Minister. I was incredibly jealous because he actually got to fly in one of these brand new planes. Well, that was 30 years ago. It's time to replace those airplanes. But it's not necessarily important for us to participate and contribute to the American military-industrial complex by buying planes that have been single-sourced, that have been have huge questions raised about whether or not they are efficient, whether or not they're a smart expenditure, or whether or not they're the right tool to support the men and women of the Canadian military in the kinds of missions we're going to take. So listen, there's plenty of money already out there earmarked for the military. The question becomes, what do we actually need to spend it on? Now, I was having a conversation with noted conservative and fairly highly respected Major General Louis McKenzie a number of years ago, who was talking to me about the fact that what we need most is amphibious troop transports, big ships that are able to carry 1,000 soldiers, all their equipment, overseas to theater where we are needed to engage in. We don't have those right now. We're borrowing other countries' ships. We're trying to lift. We can travel, small JTF teams on Hercules, but we cannot bring all the troops and the heavy equipment through our own ships. And these are the kinds of things and the kinds of conversations we have to have about what we're spending on, rather than just that we're spending. And that's the conversation.
So I'm hearing same level of funding.
Similar level of funding, yes. I mean,
but no cuts.
No, I don't think we need to. I think Canada will always need a military, because if we want to live in a safe world, we cannot just focus in on ourselves. We have to understand that we have a responsibility to try and foster the kinds of solutions that we have here of being an extraordinary diverse country that thrives and survives.
I want to try to get a lot more questions in for you, at least on the phone lines and emails. So you surprised many of these people this week by coming out and saying the Nexon deal, good for Canada. It could upset some left-leaning Liberal supporters. On the email, if you support that, we're being asked, then do you support the free trade agreement with China?
I don't know anything about the free trade agreement with Canada, with China. We haven't known. This was entirely negotiated behind closed doors. Now, the foreign investment, the FIPA deal, is similar in many cases to many of the FIPA deals we have with countries around the world. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But China, of course, involves certain particularities because it's such a behemoth of a market and such an important one for us. But the fact is, as a parliamentarian, we haven't had any discussion or any debate. The government has done this completely in secret. And the fact of the matter is, just because you're signing a deal with the Chinese government doesn't mean you get to act like the Chinese government.
Okay. Let's go to the phones, 250-386-1161. Greg, welcome to our town hall with Justin Trudeau. What's your question, sir?
Hi. My name's Greg Hill. We did meet at the UVic conversation that you just had, and I wanted to follow up in terms of my question with NATO regarding our involvement in the war with Libya and the use of depleted uranium. Now, you had mentioned in that conversation that you thought depleted uranium was a horrible thing to be involved and to put on people, causing mass deformants in children. Now, I want to just follow up. Now, Elizabeth May was the only MP in Canada that voted against Canada's involvement in the Libyan war, and I want to see, now that you know that depleted uranium was used, would you have changed your decision to go to war with Libya?
Listen, as I said to you when you asked me that question at UVic, I don't know enough about the issue that you're talking about. Obviously, I think anyone hearing that we're using depleted uranium in armaments is going to say that's probably not a good thing to do. I mean, so I have concerns about where we're going forward with this, and as I committed to you then, I intend to learn more about the use of these munitions. And as I told you, I have concerns about them.
Okay, this has just happened. I don't know if you're aware of it, but we were talking about David McGuinty earlier. He's just resigned as the Liberal Party's natural resources critic after suggesting that Conservative MPs from Alberta are shills for the oil industry and should go home. He unreservedly apologizes for his comments, but the question is, do you think this is going to affect the Liberals' chances in Calgary?
I hope not, because the Liberal Party has been making some tremendous inroads in Calgary in terms of demonstrating that we are once again fully cognizant that we need to be a national party. That Canada needs parties that don't pick and choose the regions of the country they want to represent and play off against other regions, the way Mr. Mulcair is doing, anchoring himself in Quebec and voting against Alberta, or Mr. Harper is doing, anchoring himself in the West and positioning himself against the East in many situations. We need to be a national party, and what Mr. McGuinty said was regretful, but I think that the people who decide that that's all the Liberal Party is good for probably weren't going to vote for us anyway in Calgary.
It's going to tick off maybe Tories that were looking to maybe swing you in.
It ticks off me as a Liberal. I think it was an unfortunate thing to say. Absolutely.
Appropriate for him to resign?
That's up to our leader, Bob Rae. I'm not the leader of the Liberal Party at this point.
But if somebody made a comment like that and you were the leader and people looking to you for leadership,
I would have a very serious conversation about how effective that member could continue to be in as important a role as natural resource critic when he had expressed those views.
Which is code for goodbye. It's radio. He's shrugging, trying to avoid the question.
I'm not trying to avoid the question. I'm just not going to get down the road on hypotheticals. I will have very serious conversations and be consistent with the values that people expect me to stand.
I know, and people want to see whether you're going to be tough and whether you're going to keep your people in line.
And I will demonstrate plenty of toughness when the time comes. I just won't play act it on radio.
We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with our town hall here live on CFAX 1070.
Every year, the best curlers in the world have only one destination in mind, Canada. And this year, the men are coming to Victoria. Just like 2005, it'll be another world spectacle. But the best view is the live view. Everything you never see on TV is yours now in mini packs, priced from just $99 at the Save on Foods Memorial Center box office. The Ford World Men's, sponsored by Booster Juice and Island Tent City Vince. You gotta be there.
For less than the cost of an apple a day, Thompson Roof Treatment can keep the roof of an average house free of moss for its remaining life. Make a healthy choice for your roof with Thompson's exclusive Lifetime Moss Control Program. A proactive approach with early treatment will maximize the life of your roof, resulting in lower maintenance costs. Call Thompson Roof Treatment and ask about their Lifetime Moss Control Program. Protect your roof and its warranty with Thompson Roof Treatment. 385-3124. 385-3124.
Take advantage of all the great savings during Dollar Days happening all this week at Safeway. Like Pillsbury Pizza Pops or Crispy Mini Pizzas. The packs of 8 are club priced at 2 for $10. Old Dutch potato or Dutch Crunch chips sold in the 200-gram bags are club priced at $4 for $10. And assorted varieties of Coca-Cola or Pepsi soft drinks sold in the 12-pack cases are club priced at $3 for $10. Check this week's Safeway flyer for all the Dollar Day savings. That's ingredients for life. Safeway.
Quite the party, Ted.
And that's quite the outfit.
Yeah, thanks to the $100 I saved at Fountain Tire. Went all out.
Sure did.
At Fountain Tire, the owners run the store, so you get great deals like saving up to $100 on a set of 4 selected winter or all-season Goodyear tires.
Yep, got wings, a tail, antenna, flashing lights.
It's just too bad it's not a costume party.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry about the mix-up. But your daughter makes a beautiful bride. Hi, Brenda!
Till December 31st, save up to $100. Another reason to trust Fountain Tire.
Do you want in on the gift that tops every child's wish list? A direct line to me, Santa. Just go to magicsanta.ca. Tell us about that special someone. Upload your favorite photos, and my elves will do the rest. Get the magic of Christmas delivered right to your inbox. Get a personalized message from Santa. Go to magicsanta.ca now. Ho, ho, ho!
This is a CFAX 1070 special presentation. A town hall with Justin Trudeau. Here is Stephen Andrew.
And we're going to go to a question now live from our studio audience here for our town hall. We have Harold. Harold, what's your question?
Thank you, Mr. Trudeau. I'm one of the few or a number of veterans that have been targeted and bullied by the current government. I'm a disabled veteran, and they bullied and targeted us with the information from our privacy breaches. And I'd just like to know what you, as the leader of the country, would do to fix the harm that this has caused us and to prevent veterans from ever being attacked again by the government. Thank you.
Well, I think that's another unfortunate example of the fact that the government is much more interested in controlling its message and keeping people quiet and attacking anyone who dares point out that they might not be, behaving appropriately and responsibly towards people like our veterans. For them to do that is unconscionable, and I know that it's unacceptable to most Canadians that a government uses its resources to go after someone who's already in a very vulnerable position. It's something that I simply will not stand for, either as an opposition MP or hopefully eventually as part of a government.
Can you fix it, though? Can you fix the harm that's been done?
We can compensate for the harm that's been done, but you can't fix the harm. Once you've humiliated someone, once you've used the powers available to a government to go after a particular individual because you feel that they're embarrassing you, you can never completely restore that person's trust in their country and in their government again. And that it be someone who has chosen to serve their country in the military is just the ultimate insult for me. And that's something that we see far too often from this government.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Norma, welcome to CFAX 1070. Go ahead with your question for Justin Trudeau. Norma? Okay, Norma, I'm going to put you back on hold there, and you'll need to turn your radio down, or otherwise you'll have a huge delay. Let's go to the other call here, Terry. Terry, welcome to CFAX 1070. Go ahead with your question.
Oh, hi. I would like to ask Justin if he would legalize, regulate, and tax marijuana.
You've been asked this before.
I have, and my answer is yes, I would. It is time for us to decriminalize marijuana. It just doesn't make sense. The war on drugs as it stands has only been profitable for criminal enterprises and for gangs. We need to move beyond that. And I think it makes sense to tax and regulate it because that's actually an effective way of keeping it out of the hands of our kids who no longer will have access to it on street corners. It also is a way of making sure that the Canadians who choose to use marijuana are using a better quality of product than necessarily they're getting now. But at the same time, we have to understand it may be less bad for you than alcohol or tobacco, according to many studies, but it's not a health food supplement. And we're trying to get people to live healthier lives. But we should be encouraging them to live healthier lives and not legislating it in as much as we can.
Are you surprised that the U.S. were first to vote to legalize carrying an ounce of marijuana?
I'm pleased. I'm pleased it is, because one of my concerns around where I was looking at legalization was what's going to happen with the border. I mean, thickening border is not going to be good for trade or for tourism, but if the United States is already dealing with this challenge internally, they won't be as harsh on us and our border crossings.
We're talking with Justin Trudeau, Liberal leadership contender. We're live in our studio, a town hall meeting. Let's go back to a question from our audience. What's your name and what's your question?
My name's Jennifer. My question is, what's your platform around protecting the reproductive rights and freedoms of Canadians? Thank you.
Thank you, and that's a great and important question. For me, it is not right for any government to legislate what a woman can or cannot do with her body. It's that simple. I think I very much agree with Bill Clinton on his position that abortions should be accessible, safe, and extremely rare. But we do have to make sure that people have opportunities and choices. And it's as much as I'm personally, as a Catholic, opposed to abortion, as a personal position, as a politician, well, actually, yeah, who out there actually likes abortions and say, yes, that's lines from Simpsons, abortions for everyone? Yeah, no. But as a legislator, I do not feel it's the place of the state to impose upon a woman what she has to do or must not do with the baby she's carrying.
Okay. Let's go to the phone lines again, 250-386-1161. Norma, welcome back to the program. Go ahead with your question. Norma, you're on the air. You're on the air.
Hello, Mr. Trudeau. It's a pleasure to talk to you. My question has to do with the baby boomers who are in North America retiring at a rate, or turning 65 rather, at a rate of 4 million per year, an average of 11,000 per day. And I'm just wondering if you and your team have had any talks regarding how you can support and draw on this particular powerful group to create a legacy for other generations to come. I'll hang up and you can answer.
Thanks for your call.
No, thank you very much for your question. The demographic shift is of extreme importance when we look at creating public policy for the coming years. The reality is the healthcare costs, the pension costs, the extra expenses that are going to happen as our boomers retire need to be compensated for by an increase in productivity and workforce in a smaller number of young people and immigrants who are working to support them. And that's where we need to make sure we are playing on the knowledge economy, we are increasing productivity, we are creating opportunities to afford this demographic shift. Now, at the same time, as boomers are retiring, as you point out, they are retiring in greater health, and many of them with more resources than ever before. And their opportunity to be mentors, to be community activists, to continue to participate in our community lives is extremely important to me. Far too often in the Western world, we ship off our grandparents and our parents to be isolated and wait for us to come visit them on weekends. And I think involving them more in the vibrant community lives and neighborhoods that we need to build as active grandparents and as mentors and experienced leaders is really important.
Got about 2 minutes left, so let's very quickly deal with the Northern Gateway Pipeline, big issue here in British Columbia. Do you support it?
I do not support the Northern Gateway Pipeline. I'm in generally open, as I've said in my op-ed, to trade with China. I think it's important. However, it has to be done right, and that particular path that Enbridge has proposed, because of non-consultation with the natives, because of the incredibly vulnerable, pristine wilderness of the Great Bear Rainforest, that particular pipeline project is unacceptable, and people are going to have to go back to the drawing board to figure out a different way to get their oil to Asia.
I ask this probably most politicians that come in. Your Achilles heel heel. I know that you can be outspoken and put your foot in your mouth sometimes. Other than that, what's your Achilles heel?
That remains it. I'm someone who is. I try to be very, very open. I try to be very authentic, and that regularly gets me in trouble. And
is it passion, or is it just you're not thinking before you speak?
Oh, no, I think an awful lot, but what I often don't think about is how people can take portions of my answer or choose to misinterpret my answers and run with it as a way that distracts me from putting forward the message I actually give. I mean, I know I have to learn that a little bit more, but I am very passionate and very committed and very strong in my values.
Your brother's now a member of your campaign team, one of your advisors. Is he offering you a lot of information, a lot of guidance here? Or, I mean, I know you guys are very close. Do you fight? Do you disagree?
Oh, we disagree on all sorts of things. He is. I'm very, very lucky to have my brother, who's an extraordinarily smart guy who I love very much, help me out. He particularly helped me out in setting up my campaign. He's got a lot of different projects that he's doing, documentary projects and books that he's working on, so he's not as involved now as he was in the beginning.
Can he come to you and say, Justin, you're just full of it?
Yeah.
Full of sewage.
He has said that from time to time.
And the last time he did that was on...
a couple of weeks ago.
What did you do?
I said, I respect your opinion, Sash, but I disagree.
Okay. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your questions on the telephone and your questions by email. I'm sure that we are going to continue this conversation now live on the air with Terry Moore. We're going to